We don't want to be Debbie Downers, but we also want to educate our listener because sex trafficking is real and it's happening everywhere. It's happening in your community, in my community, people that you walk by in grocery stores. It's not to be neglected. It's not talked about enough because it's scary and people don't want to talk about it. So that's why we're bringing it to you today.
All right. Hey, welcome to another episode of Girls Gone Gritty. We're coming to you live from our beautiful studio here in New Jersey, our Bring It On studios. I'm getting just back from an incredible event called the Houston Rodeo. That's why, if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see I'm wearing a cowboy hat, cowboy inspired. Holy crap. It was so much fun, you guys. I can't even tell you. My favorite event that I've never seen. First time I was at the Houston Rodeo, but I'd been to other rodeos in Canada, Calgary, the Stampede. Do you guys know what mutton busting is?
I do now.
What is mutton
Oh my
busting?
God. I think I sent Forley the video. We'll have to share it on our YouTube. So you put your 5-year-old, it's the signature event at the end of the rodeo before the music comes on. I saw Old Dominion was the musical guest. They were amazing. But you put your 5-year-old on a baby sheep and they have to hold
I
on
have
to
seen that.
dear life. And they run around the stadium. I don't think I laughed so hard in a really long time. I mean, it was so funny. And then watching the kids like shell shocked response to getting off this little sheep. And this one little boy who they had on the Jumbotron the whole time, he fell off really fast. And he was so mad, couldn't stop crying because he didn't do what he wanted to do. And you could watch his brain fall apart from not doing what he wanted to do in front of all those people. We said that, I guess DIFUS doesn't exist in Texas when it comes to that.
Wow. Or animal cruelty.
Or anything
Right.
else. Yeah. So that was my weekend in Houston. So it was a really good time with great people.
I like your new hat too. That hat is fly. And your outfit. Love the skiing.
This is from Jack in Telluride.
It's like a rodeo skier.
It is.
It's like
Great.
a Western skier girl.
It was such a nice my 25-year-old son buying me clothes. It can go one of two ways. And
Nailed it.
so far they've been doing a really good job.
Yeah, he nailed it. It's awesome.
Nailed it. Far, how about
guys?
you?
How was your week?
I lots of lax. I'm in the trenches of lacrosse right now, and it's all good. So I just flew back in from Columbus today. They lost by 1 goal to USC, but gearing up for another week and a broken record. But I love it. It's what I do, and I'm happy that I have 2 kids that I can divide and conquer and go see.
Well, you're on an epic pace with it too, because it's like a Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. A lot of times, it's not the traditional like 1 game a week
No,
kind of a schedule,
not.
and you have it twice with
Yeah,
two
we've got
goals.
Navy coming up, followed by Michigan, followed by Rutgers. So bring it on.
Oh,
Bring
it's
it
so much
on.
fun. And tailgating and having everything that goes along with for the events.
It's awesome.
It's so good.
How
And
about
you're-
you, D?
So last week we had, or a couple days ago, we had the Ski Essential ski testing, and I went over to see my friend Billy Boy. And it was great because I ran into my old team manager from K2, Jeff Machura, and it was so much fun sitting there with all these old team managers of mine and just reminiscing about the good times and talking about the K2 free ride team. And remember when we were on Willie Nelson's tour bus and we're doing our movie promotions and we're signing autographs in New York. And it was just going down memory lane for an afternoon. We skied and it was awesome. Going back and remembering memories and going, oh my
Have they
God, I
seen
can't believe we
Little
did
D
it.
yet? Have they seen your doppelganger?
They did not. And it's one of the best parts of my life as in my ski career was then. So that's what he was saying as well. It's fun to circle back. And now, everyone's got a little gray, moving a little slower. Did you get anything replaced? And it reminded me that we literally were on Willie Nelson's old tour bus,
Well,
the
that is
K2
super
performer.
gritty and awesome.
Yeah.
And speaking of super gritty and awesome, we've got some gritty headlines that you're bringing us today.
Oh gosh, there's so many. It's a plentiful. But number 5, super elite Harvard, they make affordable housing adjustment. Tuition is now free, FREE, for families making under 200,000. Now, it includes housing, it includes books if you make under 100K. So that's one reason to not go out and make a lot of money, because your kids will go for free and it will even out by the time those 4 years are over.
Can you imagine how much money Harvard has? Their endowment must be massive.
Yeah. Well, my cousin works at Princeton, and that school, you can go to tuition anywhere for free.
Wow.
That's the benefit of being an employee at some of these
Well, that's
finer
fantastic.
institutions. And they're really encouraging people to get their 4-year degree, which I think is great. And making it accessible to everyone is what we want, because education is the normalizer and the equalizer.
Everybody should have equal opportunity in that department.
Yes.
Whether you can afford it or not.
But getting into Harvard, there's your hurdle.
Yeah. If you can get into Harvard, you should be able to.
You figure it out how to pay for it.
Number 4, Tiger Woods and Vanessa Trump. They ask for privacy, but are fully doing PDA on Instagram. I mean, come on. What is that?
He's
like showing it off and sticking it in Donald Trump Jr.'s face a little bit.
I just never get it. It's
hard reveal.
You can't have both. So please, everyone, the celebrities need to please stop. That's really how I feel. So.
I know. You like dangle a carrot like, hey, don't respect our privacy and don't bother us. But here we are. Her daughter, Kai Trump, is an avid golfer. So I bet you she's like, yes, mom, game on.
Number 3, how about the dolphins that hosted the astronauts' welcome when they came home into the ocean out of the air? Loved that. Imagine you land from being in space for so long and the dolphins are there like dance party.
They are the more intelligent species. So
they were curious. What is this thing
that just landed in our doing?
Yeah. Right.
These crazy humans.
I liked how they kept on saying that they landed from the coast of Tallahassee. Meanwhile, there's not really water by Tallahassee, so it probably was Pensacola, but they didn't want any weirdos to get any ideas and send a boat out faster.
Well, I thought that too, because our boat manufacturing factory was right there. I'm like, wait, and we're in the middle of nowhere. So
yeah,
wondering where that body of water was.
There's a big lake in Tallahassee, but there's not yeah, exactly. The Gulf of America.
Number 2, Roundup, now pay up. Mosano's Roundup continues to be a headache for Bayer. Come on.
This settlement is enormous, and they're already saying it's going to be appealed to the Georgia Supreme Court. But these forever chemicals and what the implications that they've had on the environment. This is one man who won this enormous lawsuit, so
it's terrifying. My parents used Roundup religiously. We had a nursery, Seven Bridges Nursery and Produce, and we used Roundup for our grass and to treat all kinds of things that went into the water system. We just don't know what we don't know, but now we're starting to know.
Yeah,
but they keep using it.
We know
they keep using it.
They need to round up everybody at Roundup. Talk about cowboy.
I was just saying, what about the cowboy in the room? Yeah. Okay, and coming in at number 1 in a massive upset, Wyatt Hendrickson takes down Olympic gold medalist Cable Stevenson at the NCAA Wrestling Championships, and he put the beat down on the Olympic medalist.
Tried out for the WWE, the NFL. Hasn't this guy done? And he just dethroned somebody that went 70 matches in a row winning and took down the gold medalist. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, good for him. Wrestling is one of those sports that 2 of my kids tried, and I was very happy when they stopped, because it's in the best way possible. It's like hockey and swimming pool. You put a ton of time in for a very short period to watch somebody perform. So when they get a result, you're always happy for them.
No, wrestling's tough. Every day when I was lifeguarding for many years at 4:00, all the lifeguards that wrestled, we would all wrestle and they would teach us moves, and it was very hardcore. Tough to do.
You need a hardcore.
Yeah.
To do anything.
I was beat up. Yeah, it's a good workout.
Well, that takes us to a topic today that we don't want to be Debbie Downers, but we also want to educate our listener, because sex trafficking is real and it's happening everywhere. It's happening in your community, in my community. People that you walk by in grocery stores. It's not to be neglected. It's not talked about enough because it's scary and people don't want to talk about it. So that's why we're bringing it to you today. And to tell you the truth, I'm really concerned because I have 2 children that go to school in 2 of the top 10 cities that sex trafficking is happening. Baltimore and Cleveland are on that list. So Let's talk about it so we can educate, and then you can tell everybody what you've learned. And we're hopefully going to have some protective measures put into play with regards to Ubers, et cetera. But we don't want to like get too far ahead.
Said I was just away in Houston, and if you travel literally
Houston's
anywhere,
#1, by the way.
I knew that. And if you travel anywhere in the world, Houston, Atlanta, many of those hubs for the large airlines, they have a tremendous problem there. And if you go to any of the bathroom stalls, obviously I've only been to the women's side, but I asked my husband, and they're on the men's side too. It's not just females that are trafficked. Human trafficking across the board is a male and female, more predominantly female, but men get trafficked as well. And to have those signs be now everywhere in
like on the inside of a bathroom stall, like when you're shutting the door, because obviously everybody has to go to the bathroom in the world.
Correct.
So,
and it's a safe place so that if somebody is being trafficked, they have a minute to themselves and privacy, because a lot of times people that are here being human trafficked are also with a companion. It could be a spouse. It could be, a handler. It could be their pimp, but it doesn't matter.
I highly doubt they have a phone. I was thinking about it today because I actually saw a stall. I was in the bathroom stall in Columbus, and I took a photo and sent it to you. And I thought, what if I didn't have a phone? What could I do? Could I write in lipstick, or like, what do I have? They might not even let you have anything, but I would like almost want to write something on that stall and say, I am held captive and my name is Farley and this is where I am, because I'm sure that they're very rarely let out of their handler's sight, and they probably don't have tools to utilize.
Yeah. And that's the hard part, is that these kids are used for child labor. There's 3 stages of child trafficking. There's recruitment, movement, exploration. It's almost like slavery, forced labor.
Oh, it is slavery.
It is slavery. But they say that you have to just always be aware. So for everyone who's listening, is just look out. And if you see like an odd kind of a mom, a dad, and just a weird dynamic of a relationship, you can almost see in the kid's eyes shallow darkness, and to just kind of look out. And people have been found through someone going, hey, you know what? That couple, they don't look right. And the girls or whoever's out there is try to throw a sign. Maybe there could be like a worldwide sign that these kids could be taught in school. Like, hey, if you happen to be kidnapped, this is the national sign. Please help me.
$236 billion business. It's the fastest growing criminal activity that there is in the world right now. It's second to drugs, because drugs have been here since the beginning of time, but it's the fastest growing industry worldwide. That's terrifying.
And it's largely fueled by two things that are equally as scary. The first thing being our social media, the predators, and we've said it, we've talked about the dark web before. We've talked about, like, for the regular human that's going on to the internet for gaming or to search something for social, like you go down a path and you very quickly find the normal things. But there's a whole other universe of people that are manipulating not just kids, manipulating people into pretending there's a job opportunity for them. And by the time they get to the job opportunity, they're basically like bound and chained. One is the access to social media, but then they said 2 is post-pandemic disconnection has increased. The pandemic put people on social platforms, took people away from connection in their community, in society, has made this escalate in the last 5 years. The numbers that I saw were they estimate, and they don't know, there are 40 million to 50 million people that are in some sort of human trafficked situation. Even if they were to see a sign like that, they are being held against their will in ways that saying that they're being held against their will isn't quite sufficient, because a lot of times these people that are in these positions, especially sex, they're in trouble for prostitution and they have photos that are incriminating. So they're embarrassed. There's so many more layers to it.
A friend of ours who is undercover just did a humongous bust in Newark, one of the biggest out there. And when I was talking to him, I said, so tell me, how do you find these people? How do you know? And what it is just like you said, Jen. He says it's all from social media. So what happens is they lure them in and they say, hey, if you want like to do make some money, come, we'll buy you dinner. So somehow they meet the people, they buy them dinner. Oh, you like the dinner? Okay, let me buy you an outfit if you do something. So they're kind of luring them in. So they start buying him outfits. Then they say, "Hey, if you do this, I'll give you more money." So it's all started from Instagram, and that's how they found a large majority of these sex offenders were from the internet. And literally, you hear the stories, and it was horrific. He's said, you find these girls and they came from nothing. Oh, if you need a shoulder to cry on, please call me. Join this hotline. Oh, we're having a group meeting at this one place in Newark. And all of a sudden, you start building the business. You start building more and more clients. Like, little do you know, all of a sudden, these people who had nothing are, oh wow, I have beautiful clothes. I'm being fed. I'm being taken care of. I have a warm house. So you go from nothing to having something, and even though that something is not good, it's you're not empty
And it's
because
not
they're
just the
there.
impoverished demographic. They
No,
definitely
I know.
they prey on runaways. They go to the malls. They really can find themselves in college towns where there are young girls that are getting into cars like Ubers, and they're drunk. And sometimes they found that there was a sting operation in Sarasota, where I'm from. And this is actually very terrifying. But an Uber driver was involved in the sex trafficking. And what he was doing when there was like one girl or two girls, attractive, drunk, they had a drop off that might have been a little bit more rural, a little more obscure, not like in the thick of everything. He would alert the sex traffickers that he was working with that he would be coming to a four-way stop or, a very traffic light out in Timbuktu. And that car would come and meet up with them at the four-way stop or at the red light. And those individuals would get out of the car and take the girls in the back seat, leave their phones. The Uber driver would have a glove on, would still continue on to the route where they were going to get dropped off and throw the phone on the property. So what we really need to do is tell the girls, do not get in an Uber ever and be preoccupied. If they're bombed, share their location immediately. Make sure that you know the name of the Uber driver and you know that the license plate matches your car. You can share your GPS, do that. Get in the habit of like sending it to your roommate, sending it to your mom, whoever, just so that they can actually track the Uber. Because unfortunately, Lyft and all these other vehicles, it's a very easy crime and it's hard to prove if they don't have cameras. Uber has put in cameras now to try to knock that out. But I'm
Didn't
just
it say
terrified.
like you're supposed to go to the window and say, "Hi, who are you picking up?" And they're supposed to say, "Hi, Darian Boyle." All right, thank you. Me and my 5 friends are getting in. So you should go ask who they're picking up because so many bad things have happened that they keep under wraps. I'm like, gosh, it just makes you
It's also
scared to take
taking
an
the
Uber.
GPS asked off of the chats that these girls are in or boys, letting people know your whereabouts. Strangers can GPS you because you've got your location on. So everybody has to wake up and recognize that sex trafficking is real and they target everybody. It doesn't discriminate. It's whoever makes sense. It's somebody in a parking lot late by themselves. It's somebody getting into an elevator solo. Just have to create awareness. And we have to talk about it. When my kids were little, I used to say, oh, stranger danger, wherever we went. And I made it scary. And I talked to them about, now, what would you do if a car pulled up and they had puppies and bunnies and lollipops? I wanted to make sure that they knew that that could be a potential threat. It's the same situation that we're talking about now for adults and for younger people. Everybody has to keep their eye on the prize, which is safety.
And I think back to the part I said about the human connection that we've lost thanks to technology and because of technology. When I was that age or growing up, there weren't all these abilities to Uber they're awesome. Like the opportunity to get anywhere where you want to, anytime I can. I don't have, but it's also taken away some of those protections that you have where your taxi driver, he had to have his license and he was registered and they knew he was, and all of these things that we've now taken off. And when you hop in these cars, you don't know the people. You don't have somebody picking you up that you have somebody different every single time. So the fact that technology has made it more easy to access people in communities, that they're not a part of is a major problem as far as I'm concerned when it comes to this topic. I think we're going to start to see a little bit of a backlash. I was just in Houston, and getting an Uber is almost impossible because they don't want to be involved with this whole thing. They're a driver. There's all these opportunities to splinter off and do my own thing. And now we have the same person picking us up in a different city every single time. And we're going back to like the old school 666 in the city. You'd call,
Yes.
And
I love that ride to the airport.
Service.
Yeah. 66666. Yeah. They pick you up.
And if they screwed it up, you had somebody to call, you had you have a complaint with some of these online platforms. And then don't even get me started on, I feel terrible for these people, again, old and young, on the dating platforms, because there's another predatory opportunity. Send me a couple of pictures, and then all of a sudden you have these people, because it's not just kids, it's even more devastating when it's kids, but you have people that are bait fished into a situation because they were promised one thing and they get there and they're like, wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for. So I think the human trafficking piece that's on the rise is also an inequity of wealth. There are people that are looking for a opportunity out of a bad situation. And when you're distraught and really at the end of your rope, you will do almost anything. And a lot of people get themselves into these situations initially willingly. But
where did all the kids go how about the people crossing the border and all there's so many missing children right now. There's so many, and they're finding pods of them. They're finding pods and pods of missing kids in underground tunnels. I saw a video.
The sound of freedom.
Yeah. The way that I see it is adrenochrome, but it's a conspiracy theory that all these Hollywood celebrities are taking the adrenochrome out of these little kids. And it's that movie that just came out.
You haven't seen that movie, people, you need to see that movie and take your child to see it with you or make them watch it with their friends, because it's real. It's a real story. It is real life. And for whatever reason, Hollywood did try to stop this movie from.
Yeah, because they're all part of it.
They really did. Well, I mean, I think James Cazaville spent his own money along with whoever helped produce it besides him. And it was low budget, and every single dollar that comes in goes to one of the organizations that's actually fighting sex trafficking. So it's a powerful movie. It's not sensationalized. It's real, and it will put you in an uncomfortable place, and it will make you recognize that this is a problem that all of us need to, neighborhood watches, how like we all kind of came on board at one point because we were afraid of people kidnapping our children, the disposable clothing. Oh, yeah, that's an example of like child labor slavery.
Isn't that Nike? Weren't they doing that as well?
I think Nike got held,
and then they got in trouble for it.
There's just so you know, I googled this too. There's so many. It's like Land's End. Like it can appear to be.
But that's how you can buy clothes for super cheap, and then you can have a 70 off sale, and they're still making money because they're not spending a lot for these kids. I saw a footage of an airplane that landed. That when they opened all the inner walls of the airplane, it was all kids stuck in there. Came from Mexico, and they busted them, and they pulled out maybe 150 kids literally stuck in the walls of this plane. And you just saw them. You're like, you see these little faces come out. I was like, devastated. It's heartbreaking.
The statistics we don't even have, because there's no accurate way for them to really.
Yeah, it's all estimates.
Truly, it's their estimates, and they think that the actual numbers are above and beyond our wildest dreams, which is even more terrifying.
Yeah, because you don't know if there was a young man who was being held hostage in his own home by his stepmother.
Oh, God, I just read this. He set his house on fire. And that he was, yes.
Yeah. So
he was old.
Yeah. Yes. He was 30. And I think like he had been captive for 20 years. Yeah. And the way he was freed was he set the house on fire and told the fire department and the responders what had happened to him. And they showed the kooky, I think it was his mother or stepmother. Oh my God.
Stepmother.
His father had died.
Yep.
Yes.
She had two daughters. Terrible. And
it's
that's
happening everywhere.
And that's the thing we want to impart to the listening audience. It's you really don't know it can be for sex. It can be for trade, meaning you labor, hard labor. It can just be an indentured servant that like is going to take care of. I read a terrible story. This Kat Torres. Did you hear about this influencer? She was this famous influencer who was Brazilian, rags to riches, wrote a book, and she preyed on people when people are down on their luck and feeling like they need a friend. They reach out again via social media, and this woman lured them to her place in Austin, Texas, and like kept them and made them work, and they had nowhere to go, and it was terrible. And she just got imprisoned. And the number of influencers, there's two boys, the Tate brothers. Look up these people and just read the stories again, that were in Romania because they thought it was a friendlier environment for them to run their business. Well, their business sounds like it was pornography, sex trafficking, and all of it gets linked together. And you see the abused become the abusers, right? Like that's the cycle of the way things work, sadly. I learned it from you, Dad. I learned it from you, Mom, is a lot of times the people who get other girls are girls that were brought in, and that's how they get their power. They get more accessibility to being able to do things they want. So it's
like a little more freedom if they bring in like tier marketing only, like internal
yeah,
correct,
horrifying.
Correct. And they trust. You see a beautiful girl who's like doing really well, and you're a young kid, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to be like that amazing social media influencer. She's written a book. She's and then you find out, like the Hollywood elite that we still don't know.
Watch the movie Taken with Liam.
Oh,
I can't watch that. It's so scary.
Well, you know what? I like to scare my girls. I made them watch that too because I've got one that's living in Australia right now that just decided to go to Bali and wander the streets a little bit buzzed. And I'm like, you need to recognize that there are people looming and looking at you when you don't even think that they are. You have to have eyeballs in the back of your head. So definitely watch The Sound of Freedom. They watch Taken and, scare your loved ones and make this a hot topic in your household, because if you don't talk about it, they're not going to think it really exists.
No, it's true. The legislation we talk about that nobody wants to talk about, the legislation has a really tremendous lag where they're not really sure how long these people should be prosecuted for things, and they'll be out in a couple of years. And these people that come forward and then are able to find people and prosecute them, a lot of times the state, for whatever reason, doesn't prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, or it's not considered a felony because of the fine. Because a lot of times, in order to be a felony, it has to have a certain financial parameter, or it has to be egregious, like a murder or an assault or things like that. And if you have an adult who's willingly participating, although she's being trafficked, she's still a prostitute. So how do you fix the problem when it's endemic in the way that the problem's created, right?
I read something about one of the actual websites that the victims are posted on, and they could not get that website taken down because of freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. And it was protected. Like, this ridiculous website was protected because they could claim that everything was done anonymously. It was a way to launder money so that there wasn't a paper trail. And the people that ran the actual website couldn't be found guilty because they just created the platform, and they weren't in control of what was happening on that platform. And I thought that was absolutely insane.
It is insane.
It's called like Backpage, or I'm trying to find it right now. It's terrifying. But while I'm on that, I just want to give you guys at least the top 10 list, because it's very alarming. Number 1 is Houston, where my fabulous girlfriend just came back from. Thank God she made it back. Number 2 is Los Angeles. Number 3 is New York, like NYC, in our backyards. Number 4 is Washington, D.C. 5 is Chicago. 6 is Las Vegas. 7 is Atlanta. 8 is Dallas. 9 is Miami. 10 is Columbus, which makes me actually physically ill. And then from there, it just continues on. But it's real, people, and it's happening in small towns. We just really need to make this a conversation that you can have with everybody, so that people don't look at, oh no, sex trafficking, that doesn't happen here, or that's not happening.
Happens everywhere.
Happens everywhere. Yeah. And actually, it happens so frequently. I also found this organization. It's called Rights for Girls. They identified the issue. We're in March Madness still, that the uptick of sex trafficking, human trafficking, always aligns with major sporting events.
Oh.
So they're doing a whole campaign right now in all of the major cities where the Final Four, pre-games, the Sweet 16 are being played to stop the madness. That's their campaign on human trafficking, which, I never really thought about that being a correlation, but that makes a tremendous amount of sense. You have all
Oh,
these
always.
MSG.
And
You can like go right underground to Penn.
Yep.
And now you're
Yeah.
in a train and you're out, I mean, there's a lot of
and you're bringing in a lot of people from a lot of different places that to converge on a sporting event, which typically is male dominated, right? So therefore that market goes up.
right. How about Walt Disney World?
Problem.
That is
that's a whole
the
nother
scariest.
story.
That is, they have their own underground
Bathroom. How about
tunnels.
the bathroom? Like in the castle is known to have several children have disappeared. They go into the bathroom in the castle and they don't come out. And they actually found a trap door in the actual bathroom that leads down. And they said that that's where the characters would come and go. Once again, it could be considered a conspiracy theory, but if you Google it, there's where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm sorry. And there's missing kids.
Listen, you have a billion people go to Disney World. It's like any major city. Like you're going to have issues. I think that where there's means and opportunity, people will find a way. Good, bad, or indifferent. And I can either.
Disney World is a dream spot for weirdos. When you think about it, it's my favorite place in the world. I went to Disney World for my graduation. My first kiss was there. Disney is a part of my life, but that also is a terrifying reality.
Well, yeah. Well, you have a high concentration of children. It's going to be an unfortunate place for predators, and that's a sad state of the disconnect that I'll say that I think is, to me, the more underlying problem that I think that we need to address in our society. The kids should be protected, and you should know your neighbors. Something feels wrong. It's probably there's something there that you should investigate. To have neighbors that you don't know, you don't have to be best friends with your neighbors, but you should, where they work, you kind of know what they do for a living. Their kids go to the school. Their kids take a look at you and they wave when they walk past. Some of the common human socializing skills need to return in order to make sure we protect the vulnerable. And watching the social media with your kids and the gaming, you got to really be careful with your young boys with the gaming, because they're allowed to play with whoever they want. So you never know who you've got on the other line who makes befriends your kid. So it's a heavy
Don't be
topic.
asleep at the wheel.
It's a heavy topic, but it's I couldn't agree with Far and Darian more. It unfortunately is something that we do need to talk about, and we want you to talk about it with your friends, with your children, with your parents. Just make it not such a taboo situation, and make it okay to be not okay in relationships in your life, and be uncomfortable, because that's when change happens, is when we get to the gritty part of the subject. So
I think we've wrapped it up. I think everybody's a little bit scared and freaked out right now. And if we did that, then we did our job. So
yep.
Who's our Got Grit person this week?
Well, our Got Grit winner of the week, I think, should be Lindsey Vonn, who made history. Literally got second place in the Super G in Sun Valley. Last time she raced was 2,565 days ago. She is making history, being the oldest woman to podium in ski racing. 40 years old. She had a knee replacement. She had a partial in April when I did. And all of a sudden, now she charges. People she was defying the odds. People were like, no, she's not going to do it. She's not going to do it. And Lindsey Vonn placed second at the Sun Valley World Cup this weekend and overcame all the obstacles of having a knee replacement and getting your mindset into racing at a World Cup level. My hat goes off to her, because it's hard to do. You're battling against all these little kids, and not a lot of people are saying, hey, go, Lindsey.
I saw an Instagram post that she made that was her just getting her ass handed to her in the gym. And she was grinding it out, and she had a white painter's bucket next to her, and she was puking between reps. And I was like, that is psychotic dedication right there. And I just will forever be like in awe of her because first of all, I hate throwing up. So puking is like not, I have pukophobia, but now I don't because of my kids. But seeing her not even flinch and go back to another set was pretty prolific.
She retired from ski racing because she was in so much pain. And then imagine taking off all those years. I mean, 2018 was her last race. She comes back 2025 April, a year after her knee replacement, and then you make the podium. That's unheard of. You're 40 years old. Mentally, you can keep ski racing. I could race my whole life mentally. Physically, no way. You're just broken by that age. You know, you get beat up, and it's really hard to battle back from, especially a knee replacement, to go at those speeds. And
good for her.
And she crashed. She put her knee to the test. People were like, oh, but she's back. She's an inspiration to all the girls out there and all the women who just follow your dream, follow your heart. If you want something, don't listen to anybody. Go to the gym, throw up. You can do it if you want it.
Speaking of throwing up, maybe that's why Tiger happened to post his new relationship because he was like, oh.
Let's take the spotlight from her.
He likes blondes.
Yeah.
He just goes from
I don't know.
blonde to a blonde.
That's a supposition on my part. I just kind of put that together because, you know, social media breeds insecurity.
True.
Yes.
Very true.
All right. Farley, do we have a song for today?
I always get a little deep on the song choices. I'm so power driven female, like hear me roar. And this is another song that when I'm feeling it and I'm in the car with my badass daughters and I want to motivate them or play something that will get them fired up. And I'm going to read the first lyric. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you. So we're going to walk it out and move mountains. We're going to walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up. I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up high like the waves. I'll rise up in spite of the ache. I'll rise up and I'll do it 1,000 times again. That could be Lindsey Vonn's song now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
So who sings that? Any ideas, girls?
No.
You got
if
no
I heard
clues?
it.
Rise up and I can hear her. It's a female. It's
She's got
Jen,
a
you got
crazy
this.
voice.
Yes.
It's not hold on. It's not Sia again. It's the other one. It's
You're getting close.
Get it, Jen.
I know.
You want me to give you the first letter?
Yeah.
A.
Alicia Cara.
No. Isn't that
Adrian?
No. Andra Day, and it's called Rise Up.
Oh yeah, Andra Day. I know.
So if you don't know
Nice.
that song, listen to it because her voice is powerful and it just makes you want to go out and
It's a good
conquer it.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Girls Gone Gritty. Again, with this episode, if you know someone who you're concerned about with what we talked about with the human trafficking, make sure you reach out to some professionals. There are hotlines. We'll link them in this episode bio. And don't be afraid to have a conversation about important things. That's what we're trying to do here with you each and every week. So share us, like us. Feel free to send an episode comment. Give us a song that you'd like us to showcase on the show. Whatever you can do to engage us. We want to connect with you. Make it a great day. Thanks so much. Peace out.
Rise up.